They wanted to bring me off Roaccutane. They wanted me on for a year, and 9 months in they wanted to bring me off. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. And I'm a bit like you, I do so much research into stuff that I'm doing. And I learned about something called cumulative dose, which is effectively if you don't hit that dosage of the thing you're taking for your body weight and your age and whatever, it's never actually going to take a hold. This doctor, and he was just like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And I was like,
not sure about that.
No, it's not. And I kind of just refused. They basically told me, like, we're looking for your levels, and if your levels are on ferritin less than 100, you're low. Like, you're going to be anemic, something's wrong. Got my bloods back and my ferritin was 12.
Hello and welcome to Treatment Room Conversations, the Skin and Wellbeing podcast. I'm Tamrin and I am your host. I'm a skin specialist based in the UK and can't wait to share some really insightful conversations with you. Welcome back to Treatment Room Conversations. Today I am joined by the very beautiful Mollie, who is my client of about 4 or 5 years, I want to say. So she's been a client with me for a good few years now. And Mollie first came to see me probably back in around 2018-19 when you were struggling with your skin.
Yeah.
And since then, obviously, I've followed your journey with your skin. You've come back to see me for sort of like scarring treatments. But obviously, in conversation, we've spoken a lot about your skin journey and how things have evolved over time and what might be, you know, the root cause of the skin problems that you were having. So I thought it'd be really interesting for you to come and talk about that today, just because I feel like it might help other people. It might also just educate other people on the fact that the body is really connected and things that were happening with your skin weren't necessarily in isolation. I always say, like, our skin is a mirror of what's going on inside the body. And I think for you, that's really, you know, quite key, isn't it? It's quite true that, you know, there's actually been things going on that you more recently have found out about. So first of all, when did you start struggling with your skin?
Oh my God. I think I was about 12.
Okay, yeah,
which
quite young.
Was before I even hit puberty for me, which is really strange.
Yeah.
And I remember it really well because my sister noticed my first bout of spots and she pointed it out. She's 4 years older and she's never struggled with her skin. And I remember her pointing it out and me being like, oh, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then I think sort of around 14, 15, which is when I hit puberty, that kicked into like full cystic acne. And that just stayed and worsened from like 15 to 18, 19 until I started seeing treatment. It was kind of just something like you're a teenager and everyone's like, you're a teenager.
That's
you're fine.
it. You're a teenager. You're going to have bad skin. Yeah. It is what it is.
That
like,
was
get on with it, basically.
It was literally, and they were like, just try makeup and all of that. And as you know, like makeup won't cover it. And like all sorts of things. And like around that time, I remember wanting to start the gym, but I wouldn't go to the gym because I didn't want to not wear makeup at the gym, but I didn't want to wear makeup at the gym and all of that. And then when I was probably 18, 19, when I was about 19, I started learning about something called Roaccutane, which anyone that suffers with skin will know is like your absolute last resort. This is going to put you through hell, but it will help, sort of thing. And I started looking into that, and I'd been way too scared to do it. And it hit a point where my skin was horrendous. Like I would have those like under the skin like cysts and the things, like I couldn't sleep on a certain side. It started coming all over my chest and my back and my top of my arms and things like that, and it just kept spreading. So I went to the doctor. Before I went to the doctor, I saw you. Yeah. I remember this is when I first met you.
Yeah, you came to see me.
I came to see you and we did a few treatments. And I remember like even back then, we'd talk a lot about like what to do. Yeah. And even then you were like hesitant because you were like, this is gut health. This isn't skin health.
Yeah.
This is something deeper. So we tried a few treatments and I think it just inflamed everything, didn't it? As gentle as we wanted to be.
Yeah, it's one of those things, even when I think back to that time when you first came to see me, as my business has evolved, as life has evolved, as I have, as a person has gone through more things, you know, actually at that time, you know, really what you were struggling with, I wasn't able to help you in the way that I would be able to now, because I have a nutritional range. I have a lot more education about female health, you know, through my own struggles and things like that. So it's one of those things that I wish I'd been able to help you more, but there wasn't, you know, and ultimately, you know, years later, I have been able to help you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the time, you know, treatment wise, when you've got such like severe inflammation, all you want to do is to calm that, really. And it does start on the inside, but you know, I wasn't able to support you in that way, which is quite frustrating.
But then no one knows that, like, even
that's it.
Everyone was just telling me this is just like, go get facials, try different skincare, do everything. And then
that's the thing, like at the time I was more of like, I did facials basically, whereas now I actually help people with acne and hormonal health and gut health and like all the inner stuff. But at the time, all I could really give you was a facial. When I look back, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd been able to like offer you more then. But you know,
but the
along
thing is,
the
that
journey,
started like this, didn't it? And
then
like
started the whole process. That's it. So it's kind of led to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so you explored Roaccutane.
Yeah, so did the facials, tried all the skincare, spent honestly hundreds.
Yes.
Like so much money on every sort of topical thing you can think of. And then I eventually went to the doctors and they spoke to me about Roaccutane. Actually, before Roaccutane, they put me on like those topical...
like a benzoyl peroxide type
something
thing.
like that
super harsh. It's like burn your face off harsh.
Like your pillowcase is bleached. Like it's horrendous.
Yeah.
They put me on that, did nothing, obviously. And then I went back in for Roaccutane, and it's the whole... Anyone that's gone through Roaccutane, you know that it's a whole thing. Like you need blood tests done, you have to sign things, you have to promise that you'll take certain contraceptions, you have to promise that if you get pregnant, you will... like understand that abortion is what you're going to be pushed to
your
have,
only option,
all of that. Like it's
risks.
Very dark, very deep, and like they actually they won't prescribe it to some people if they have like a history of mental health things, because it can affect your mental health and put you into depression that bad. And I was on Roaccutane for a year, and there was one day, like a 24-hour window. It was the weirdest thing I've ever gone through in my life. It was like if you looked depression up in the dictionary and there was like a little, this is the lowest point of depression, I was there. It was really weird for 24 hours.
Gosh, yeah.
I didn't get out of bed, I didn't eat, I didn't go to the toilet, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything. My partner at the time came and left for work and I was in the same spot. It was like 24 hours that just went like in a flash.
Quite like scary.
But it was so weird, and it wasn't me, and I know it wasn't me, but that was like a few months into Roaccutane.
Yeah.
And obviously it takes, I don't know how long it took to take a hold. I feel like they told me it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it did. I purged. Oh my God, I've never felt anything like it. Like, was
it just your face or was it
everywhere?
Your body? Everywhere.
It was like all down my torso, all over my chest and my back. And it was like acne on acne. Like it looked like I'd put weight on.
Oh
like my face.
Like the inflammation was that severe.
And it was all cystic. It was all under the skin. It would be like, it was even like under my eyebrows, like sort of thing. It was everywhere. And that purge, oh my God, nearly ruined me. It was ridiculous. And then along with all the other Roaccutane side effects, like you lose hair.
Gosh,
you can put weight on. Like I got all of that.
You got every single side effect.
Like your skin dries out, you get cracked lips, you get like...
That's why when I've done another podcast with one of my other clients who went on Roaccutane, and her side effects completely different to yours. And obviously this whole thing isn't just about Roaccutane, but it's so important to hear other people's journeys because no one person might get none of the side effects. One person might get a couple of them. Obviously you got basically all of them, which is really unlucky.
It was rubbish, and like I'd say it was worth it to a degree because my skin hasn't been that bad. I'm a year off Roaccutane now, maybe just over a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yes,
I'm a year and a half off Roaccutane now, but that period was absolutely horrendous,
horrible, and
I lost so much hair. Like my hair's still growing back from it. Like my hairline it was like I was receding. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And then there was just so much more with it, and like the mental health side of things and all of that. And obviously it's also scary because you have to get these constant blood tests, you have to be on 2 forms of contraception,
checking your liver function and things like that.
Checking liver, and then all of that. And then they wanted to bring me off Roaccutane. They wanted me on for a year, and 9 months in, they wanted to bring me off when I was still having breakouts. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. And I'm a bit like you, I do so much research into stuff that I'm doing. And I learned about something called cumulative dose, which is effectively if you don't hit that dosage of the thing you're taking for your body weight and your age and whatever, it's never actually going to take a hold.
Yeah.
And I like did the maths myself. I was like, I'm still 3 months off. Like whoever prescribed it to initially was bang on.
You knew that you weren't going to get anything long term.
It was just going to come back. It was just going to come back. And I was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not purging again. I'm not
like it's good that you did that research. Like really good, because some people just be like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
It was this doctor, and he was just like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And I was like,
not sure about that.
No, it's not. And I kind of just refused.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good that you have to stand your ground, in as much as obviously medical professionals, you know, they train in what they do and everything. But it's important to do that research so that you know that actually I can question this.
And you can, and because you kind of just, obviously they're the professional, you kind of just go, okay.
Yeah.
But like, it's not always the case. And there's been so many, like since then, other things that I've had going on. I've gone for 3, 4, 5 opinions from different doctors. I've paid privately and they've been wrong.
Yeah.
I've gone NHS and they've been wrong. And it's just...
Sounds like a very familiar story to me, for lots of reasons. But it's sad really, because, you know, it really is almost like everyone has a different opinion of what you've got going on. And it's like, okay, well, whose opinion am I going to trust with this?
And you just don't know. And it's just one of those things, like I know I have friends who... with very different situations health-wise have been like misdiagnosed almost fatally. Yes. And so I just fundamentally don't, like, I'm told one thing and I'm like, okay, but why?
Yeah, whenever you have been through a bit of a health journey, I found even on my journey, it's like you actually start to lose trust a little bit.
100%.
And the more stories you hear, and you just like, I just need to question, you know, these different things.
Yeah. Sure.
So obviously you've been off of Accutane for how long now did you say?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. Yeah. And then I think it was probably 6 months ago-ish, maybe a little bit longer, that you started coming to me.
6 months, yeah, because I waited a full year.
Yes.
I waited the full year, like they say, like you can't
have any treatments,
waxing,
nothing,
other topical treatments, anything
like
that.
Your skin barrier needs to repair after Accutane. And when people contact me, they're like, oh, I'm on Roaccutane, can I start doing this? And I'm like, no, you have to wait a full year. So I quite regularly have to like turn people away and just say, you know, it's a waiting game. When your skin is healthy, you can come in for treatment, but you do have to be patient, don't you? And obviously you were, and then you got in contact with me so that we could work a bit on scarring.
Yeah, it was for scarring.
And then I think it was probably a few months into your treatments, you started to get the odd breakout again. Yeah. And you were like, what's going on? You were like, what do I do? This is scary. And I think I kind of quite quickly picked up on where the breakouts were happening. That there was probably something a bit deeper rooted with that. Yeah. So obviously in conversation and things like that, you said you were quite fatigued and things like that. And I think I said, go and get some labs done, you know, go and get some bloods and see what they come back with. And I'll let you kind of explain, you know, like you went for some labs and what they
so it was with. So I came to see you and we started on the scarring, and then I started breaking out. And initially you kind of just think, okay, like I'm having treatments again, like my skin's readjusting again, it might just be that. But then like I think anyone that's into skin knows that where the breakouts are located can mean
face
something.
Mapping,
so we talked about that, and then I was speaking to you about it, and actually someone that I work with who is effectively like a what's she called, a patient expert on iron. Yes. And she tours and does talks with doctors and stuff and all of that. Yeah. And I was kind of speaking to both of you about it, and it was like, so my skin, yes, is a thing that was going on, that was breaking out again, but also like my fatigue and my energy levels and all of that, I was like on the floor, bottomed out. Like,
you said to me, you're like, I'll get in at 8 and fall asleep at 8 and not wake up to that. And I was like, that's
completely crash,
not normal.
No,
so we need to find out what's going on.
It could be like I was doing loads. So I work out quite a lot, so I take quite a lot of pre-workout. Yeah. So my caffeine tolerance is really high now. So when that fatigue started hitting properly, I cut caffeine because I was like, okay, I'm just too dependent. It's not doing anything. Yeah. Cut caffeine out for like 3 months. and then just, you know, wanted some joy in my life again, so started drinking caffeine and coffee again. So I just sort of went back to that, but like even that did nothing. But I have a lot of coffee every day. I'll have like Diet Coke throughout the day. I'll have pre-workout if I'm going to the gym, which is 4 or 5 times a week. So all of that, and I'd get like the buzz off the pre, or I'd have a coffee and I'd feel energized for like 20 minutes, and then it would just crash. It was like a sugar crash every single time. And I'd get to work, and I do 12.5-hour shifts with an hour commute each way. I'd get to work and I'd be like, whoa. And I've been known for having naps in like little media suites or whatever. I've literally been known, because like I was just plummeting, and people would be like, right, you've go take your break, go sleep, because I would just be walking like a zombie. So started looking into all of that, and I initially went through NHS and got blood tests booked in, and the blood tests all came back completely normal. And when I was speaking to, I think you and Sally, my friend, I think it was both of you that mentioned, okay, but you've been tested for hemoglobin. That does nothing. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? And then basically anyone that goes through this will find out that hemoglobin tells you nothing. You need ferritin, transferritin, and all of that, and that actually tells you what's going on. So I went back, got new bloods done, got ferritin and transferritin, and I can't, like, you can't quote me on this, but they basically told me, like, we're looking for your levels, and if your levels are on ferritin less than 100, you're low. Like, you're going to be anemic. Something's wrong. Got my bloods back and my ferritin was 12.
Incredibly low.
And they were like,
basically like, the bottom.
You're running on fumes. That is literally what they were like to me. They were like, you work 12-hour shifts and you work out and you study a course to do another job.
They're probably wondering like how you're doing all of that with such low ferritin.
It's just, you just get used to it.
That's the thing. Your body is actually used to running on that low level. And one thing that frustrates me is the markers for the NHS is like, I think it's between 30 and 400. And as we've just said, like under 100 is low. But to be honest, if you're at the 30 mark, you're still incredibly low, incredibly fatigued. And you being at 12 is just like, wow, that's like really, really low.
Well, it's just completely bottomed out, isn't it? Like there's nothing left. There's no reserve. There's no anything. And we started looking into it, and loads of people were telling me different things. And there were doctors that were like, that means nothing. Like, your iron's fine, look at your hemoglobin, that's all that really matters. And then doctors who were like, right, so your ferritin's really low, that is bad, let's have a look at this. And I was just getting so much, so I decided to go private, and I went for a private iron specialist based in London. I cannot remember her name. But she was excellent. I had a consultation with her, paid privately. Did, like, it's not cheap. Anything private is not cheap. No. And she looked at my bloods. I spoke to her for 20 minutes and she went, right, this is infusion now, like, let's book it in. And then obviously like an infusion, so a consultation itself is like 200-300 quid. Infusions are upwards of like 600, and I was a bit like,
that's just pushing my
kind of, yes, I want it, yes, it will help, but I can't.
I feel a bit like you were let down a little bit, because I don't see why you haven't been offered. I've tried it
since that. I've gone back to the NHS 3 times. And I've taken all of that. I literally had like a transcript of my private consultation, everything she said to me, all the correspondence I've had with them trying to book the infusion itself. And I went to the NHS and I spoke to haematology, and then they refused it, and they pushed me to gynecology, because they were like, this is a period related issue because it's blood loss. Literally gynecology were like, this is not us, we can't do anything.
No.
And then they put me back on haematology, and they again said no. So I've been refused 3 times. And then just stuff in personal life has gone on, like I've been moving house, I've gone through a breakup, like all of that has kind of just put everything else on the back burner. But like, so I intend to get back into it. But
you do need a transfusion if your levels are still low. And obviously there's only so much you can do naturally. But obviously, as you mentioned, gynae, like obviously when we started to see breakouts again, they were mostly like chin and jaw, and I was just like, are we sure there's not like something more deeper rooted going on here? Like thinking way back to like, you know, basically when you were a teenager and your skin flaring up there, you know, sometimes certain conditions can present themselves from quite an early age. And when we go to dermatology or we get referred to dermatology, their job is just like, okay, let's put you on some drugs that are going to get rid of your breakouts. We're not going to look at your body as a whole and look
at how that affects your body.
Yeah, or whether you have actually got any abnormalities with, you know, your periods or your gynecology, basically. They basically just look at it as, we will fix your skin, and they don't really delve that much deeper.
No, not at all.
And obviously I said, I think, you know, this is hormonal. Is your hormonal health okay? To which you said to me, not really. Yeah, not really. And I was like, okay, like, this is a gynecology referral. What basically the management of your breakouts and your skin, the root of it is finding what it is that's triggering it, basically.
Yeah.
And if you have got some kind of condition, so it's very hard for me because I don't want to scare clients, but I'm like, if there is something, you would rather know.
100%.
And then if you can manage that, then that's the key to managing the skin. And I only really know that because of, you know, my own journey with endometriosis. At some point I will do like a complete podcast on endometriosis, and I've got a whole army of clients who have endometriosis. I mean,
I can imagine
there wouldn't be enough room to bring them all in, but I'm like, let's all just have a chat about our experiences and, you know, how long it took to be diagnosed and all of that, you know. But obviously I recognise there could be something more going on. So you went across to gynecology. Yeah. And I know that you're still on a bit of a journey with that.
Still trying to sort it out.
But obviously that is so linked to the ferritin, it's linked to the skin. So, you know, what did they say basically?
So they, so basically someone explained it to me because, like, I started my periods quite late. I was 14, but I have had the heaviest periods I've ever known anyone to have, sort of thing. Like my mum, who is going through like the change, has never experienced periods like this. And it will be like, I know people that will use like the smallest tampon and that lasts them 8 hours. I am the largest, most absorbent, alongside the largest, most absorbent pad, and together they last me an hour for the 3 of my 5 days.
And you're bleeding. Not, first of all, you're not the only person, because I get clients tell me this every day. So it's one of those things when you talk about, you're like, oh, this is like lovely to talk about. But there is so many people that struggle with hormonal issues, and they don't talk about it. So but that's why I want to.
You just kind of like, it was like in school when everyone started their periods, it's like, oh, I'm really heavy, and oh, I'm really light, and that was kind of just it.
Yeah.
And like, that's just, I just have a heavy period. I just have cramps so bad that I'm nearly sick, nausea so bad that I'm nearly sick.
You start to normalise what you're going through, because you just think, okay, this is my body, this is what my body does. Somebody else's body is different, but okay, this is me, and this is the cards I've been dealt and what I have to deal with.
And you even speak to doctors and they are just like, you're just one of the unlucky ones.
Yeah.
Or you talk to them and they try and put you on like contraception that you don't want to go on. They want to put you on hormones to regulate it that you don't want to go on. And I don't want to go on it because like I have mental health history, and I had depression in my teens and stuff, so I don't want hormones for that reason.
No, and artificial hormones, it's so normalised now. But I actually feel like it disrupts your natural hormones. It disrupts your body in lots of different ways. And I think it's right that there should be natural options, and we shouldn't just be forced down that one route. And I can completely, you know, that is their answer to everything, basically go on to some form of a hormone. So you've struggled from quite a young age, and then obviously when you went to gynae, I'm guessing you explained all of that to them.
I did, and they explained it all, and they actually, my friend Sally explained it to me in the most sort of like fog clearing way I've ever had, and she was like, Mollie, if you were a bathtub, right, and your periods are the water coming out, you can put all the iron in that you want, but unless you plug it, it's just going to come out again. So like, you do need to sort the periods out.
You're basically going in a never-ending cycle, aren't you? It's
like I
could
get an infusion,
cycle,
I'll need one again in 2 years. Like, and it will just never, it will never end. So I do need the periods sorted. So I went to gynecology. Again, I went private because NHS were just telling me, oh, we're going to put you on the pill. I was like, I don't want to go on the pill.
And where did you go when you went private for gynae?
It's a hospital in Kettering. I think it's called Woodlands.
Okay, yes,
Woodlands
it's the private
Hospital.
Yes, I know which one you mean.
And the woman I saw there was so wonderful. She was so sweet. She gave me like her personal number. Like if you need me in between appointments, let's sort this out. She was so wonderful, and I went to her and we spoke for a while, and then I had an internal ultrasound and an external ultrasound, and she basically I learned years ago that I've got like a tilted pelvis or something, and she was like, okay, that's there, that might have a small factor. And then she said that she could see on my ovaries very slight endo, but also what looked to be polycystic ovaries. And she explained all that to me. And so, like, it's the most common thing ever. So many people have it.
Yeah, like I say, I've got a small army of clients with both of those conditions. I have endometriosis myself. The stats are kind of 1 in 8, but actually, from my experience, I feel like there's more than that. It's so common, and it is kind of like, when we talk about the root, it's kind of like the root of everything else that's going on with your body. And the two conditions, generally, if you have one, you are more likely to have the other. But what did she say was kind of your route and avenue of
so she wanted me to go for more bloods to test something else. I cannot remember what it is. Like, I'm so over blood tests, and I hate needles. It's been awful.
So do I. You very quickly like get over your fear, because you're like, here, just take my blood, just get it done vials. And find out what's wrong with me. You know, I'm absolutely the same. I hate needles, always have, and I've had so many blood tests now, but you just kind of get on with it because you just want to know what your options are.
And it was just, so she wanted me to go for more bloods, and then alongside all of this, I had at the exact same time a lump in my neck, literally where my thyroid gland.
Yes.
Yeah. That was swelling really, really bad. I think we spoke about that as well.
We did.
And I went to the doctors about that, and they basically turned around, oh, that looks like cancer, so we're going to go to ENT. And so I was going through all of that at the same time, getting blood tests for that. Went to ENT. Had all sorts of tests and ultrasounds, and I had a camera down my nose and throat, all sorts, and they basically they discharged it. They said it was just a swollen gland that for some reason is like getting stuck. But also, like, we spoke about how endo can present itself in different places of the body and stuff like that.
I get when I'm a bit run down, I get pain in my glands, and it's because it's an inflammatory condition. It can affect the whole body. It's been found on every organ in the body, so you know, it's not uncommon, and it also is really strongly linked to thyroid as well. So you know, it can, you know, if it's around the area of your thyroid, that can become enlarged. You know, so it's kind of all connected. But I'm glad that they did those checks for you, because it's super important to rule out anything that's, you know, super life-threatening or, you know, scary, you know, and it's quite a scary thing to go through. So I'm sure you were.
It was just like, I feel like with stuff like that, everyone thinks they're a bit of a hypochondriac, and then when the doctor turns around and goes, this looks like cancer, you're like, excellent.
Yeah. Wonderful. And you just, you think, oh God, okay.
You absolutely do. But that got cleared, that got fine. So that was going on whilst I was at gynecology, whilst I was talking to an iron consult. And then the gynecology, she wanted me to go for the bloods. And then loads of stuff started kicking off in my personal life, and it all just got put aside, really. And I still need to sort of do it, but it's just, private healthcare is ridiculous. And it's just so the cost of it is just not something I can manage at the minute.
Unfortunately, it is where the best care is. I went to a private gynae before I had laparoscopy and got diagnosed. But it is a costly thing to do, and that, you know, it's sad really, because it means that you're living with symptoms you shouldn't have to live with. But in terms of your route, she wanted more blood tests before kind of exploring surgery or anything to see if it was.
Well, she sort of on the spot, she diagnosed me with PCOS. She dismissed endo. She said it was there, but it's barely there, so let's not worry about it. Yeah. And then so she gave me all of that, and then, because I didn't want to pay private, I took that back to the NHS. That's when they pushed me through gynecology for an infusion. So I went and saw this gynecologist I had to go to Northampton, I think. And he basically turned around and went, you don't have PCOS. You don't have endo. You've got, what did he say to me? He was basically like, you don't have polycystic ovaries. You don't have endo. You don't need a laparoscopy. You don't need this. Come back and we'll do an internal ultrasound. We'll put you on some contraception that will level it out. And I was like,
okay, great.
Okay, so we're back at where I was when I was 16, when I was telling you that I don't want to go on hormones. And also, like, I don't for the mental health, I don't for the hormones. And my mum had 3 blood clots in her 20s, and all those contraceptions, all those hormones.
So you've got high risk of things. Yeah. So, you know, it's a real valid reason. Yeah, they keep presenting it as the only option.
And he just kept pushing it. And you know, when, like, you're sat and that's just a man telling you that your periods are normal and you're like, oh.
You're like, no, don't even get me started today. Yeah, don't get me started on it.
Yeah. So I'm meant to be going back to see this doctor, get another internal ultrasound, because he's absolutely convinced that I don't have polycystic ovaries.
If somebody's already said, I can see, cysts and that is what you have. And I mean, the fact that your skin has presented it in such a way, I can often tell if somebody has got signs and symptoms, because it's, lower face, jawline, chin area, those kind of cystic under the skin, quite sore breakouts. And, it presents itself in certain ways. And I just think, why does he need to, check again? But I'm glad you're on the road to finding out, exactly what's going on.
Yeah, hope so.
And do you feel like at the moment you're able to manage your skin post-Roaccutane? Obviously, we've got you a good skincare routine. We're doing as much as we can, and natural supplements to like support that and keep everything, happy as it can be. But do you feel like it's in a manageable place now?
It's definitely better. Like if I keep all those photos from like my Roaccutane days and my purge days, and I show people that, and they're like, that doesn't even look like you. Like my face is that swollen. I look like I'm 2 sizes bigger. And so I keep all of that and look back on that whenever I'm having like my skin feels really crap. I look at that and go, actually, we've got like 2 breakouts.
You have a moment of reflection and you're like, okay, it could be like this. So we're all good.
Sure. And I still, I break out all the time. I've got a little bit of a one right now, but also it's my time of the month. Like I've been stressed with personal life things. Like I go to the gym and sweat a lot, so that I'm sure
there's so many contributing factors, isn't there? So
there's all of that, but it's definitely manageable. And like you and I have spoken about like products, and in the move I ran out of a product, and we know that like we've already spoken about it, and I'm going to sort of reintroduce it and all of that, and it's just kind of like getting it.
And that's it. Right. I think ultimately it's about finding a management program now because of the other factors that might be going on within your body. It's like, this isn't going to be a curable, gone forever type situation. It's actually, let's manage it. And I think when you had finished your Roaccutane, I think, was it a doctor had said to you, like, we don't ever want you to get spot ever again, like after this. And I just think that's so unrealistic, because if you've got other factors, like we said, there's so many factors that affect breakouts, stress, hormones, it would be unrealistic to ever think you're not going to get a breakout again.
He said they kind of sell you he wanted
dream.
To put me back on. 3 months off, he wanted me back on because I'd had one spot, and I was like, I'm just not doing that.
No.
Like it's
just kind of sad to like sell people a dream, and also not to explore, I don't know what your health was like at the time when you were going on, whether you had any other issues or symptoms or fatigue or whatever, but to explore that all more. The Roaccutane definitely did the job that it needed to do, but the other factors are kind of why your skin flares up as well. So it's it's a shame when they sell it like a dream cure product.
You do
gone
think
forever.
It, don't you? And then there's also like the Roaccutane, touch wood, has worked for me like a year and a half. It's not, I think if it was coming back, it'd come back
absolutely
fully by now. Like I know people that were on Roaccutane and have dropped it because they couldn't handle it, because it was just doing too much to them. And I know people that were on it for a longer course than me and it's still come back.
Yes.
And so it's just kind of...
I've got clients who've been on it 2 or 3 times. And it's one of those where I think now you're far more informed of what's going on. I think that ultimately it's more about management of your health, really. If you've got things like endometriosis or polycystic, you need to know about it. It needs to be managed. You probably don't need a laparoscopy yet, but in the future maybe you will. It's one of those things, and it's looking at all of those before and thinking how that connects to the skin, isn't it? But I feel like your story is such an important one because it just shows how connected the body is. So thank you for being very open about your journey. I knew that you would be like open about, your health and everything else. But like I say, it probably will help somebody else. And that's what I find. There's lots of people that struggle and they just purely put it down to, I'm using the wrong products, or
it's the wrong cleanser, it's the wrong this.
And I introduced a new product, it must be that. And it's like, a lot of the time it's internal drivers. So it just shows like, what, and obviously your journey it's not finished yet. You're still on a journey. You've still got a little bit of a way to go. And I hope that you do get you know, some relief from it. It's not exactly fun being a woman, is it? You know, we get always. A bit of a short straw, don't
not
we?
Not always, yeah. But we're managing.
Absolutely. And that's it. It's just managing. And obviously I will continue to keep, you know, informed of your journey and everything else, and help you as much as I can.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming in.
That's okay.
I think this is a good point to wrap it up, because I think we've covered just about everything. So yeah, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being so honest, sharing your journey.